Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. Yes, I'm wearing a Zack Snyder's Justice League shirt. I even got the hoodie. Yep, cool stuff. Can't wait to talk more about that and wear it every single day. But today it's all about Birds of Prey. I got to watch Birds of Prey today, and I want to say it was okay. I It is leaning towards the good, but definitely not great. I want to get that out of the way. It is definitely not in my top 3 or 4 DCEU films or DC films, and that's okay. I think it's a small story. It's a short spin-off story told through a certain perspective, and you can actually feel that perspective, and you actually be a part. You can actually, kind of see where her mind is at, and the person I'm really talking about is Harley Quinn. Just to say it plain and out loud, this is Harley Quinn's narration, Harley Quinn's perspective. Who knows if what this perspective is actually real? What actually happens? It actually happens. I don't mean it in a mind-boggling way, but when you watch the movie and you see how it just skips around here and there, particularly more in the beginning parts of it, towards the middle, and then you kind of wish and you're kind of hoping that some of this stuff is in her mind because some of these characters are so good that you hope to see them in the future. But in any case, this is definitely more of Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, rather, Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn in it. So, getting right off the bat, I think this movie is all about the characters. So that's where I'm going to go with first. We're going to talk about the characters. Victor Zsasz. Now, Victor Zsasz played sadistically very well, and it actually does quite match the comics in that sense. He's a little bit, and maybe he has a little bit of maybe jealousy with towards other characters that get involved, a little bit more involved with the Black Mask, Roman Sionis. But you can kind of see that relationship with him and Roman, which is actually a lot better character because he's kind of a very shallow. I want to say it doesn't. It's not a real standout for me, although he does play the character very well. It's not a big standout in this movie. Roman Sionis, however, Ewan McGregor plays a fantastic villain. I think the range he goes from being funny to being kind of silly to being even charming, and all of a sudden going to really vile and villainous and generally just a psychotic person is quite good. Quite good, and he's probably a very one of the great villains of the DC films. And so he's probably one of the characters I really truly hope we get to see in the future. But or even in the past or something, because I think he's one of the standout characters within this Birds of Prey movie. And I really, I think he doesn't. I really wish we could explore more with him, and see more of his interactions. Even though all the interactions we've had with him, even one scene where he, is at his little bar and he asked the lady to do something on a table. I thought that was really you can kind of see it. It switches off from something he's maniacal and stuff like that, but crazy, to something that's very villainous, very scary. And that part that comes across, I really liked, and I hoped it actually kind of just went through all the way to the end, but it doesn't seem to get there. I thought that moment was going to hit, and then later on he's going to really, really show his dark side to him, but it doesn't get quite there, and it just kind of stops at a very a very simple villain, right? So there was moments where it was like, all right, there it is, and it just never really pulls through. But other than that, Ewan McGregor is fantastic as his role as Black Mask, aka Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask, and he does wear the mask, by the way. You see it in the trailer. Renee Montoya. Not much. I'd say she is a pivotal part of the film, like Victor Zsasz and like Black Mask. She is a pivotal part of the film. She has definitely plot points in there, and she is kind of the legal, lawful kind of ground for the entire group in a way, and for the movie, right? And just like someone mentions in the movie, she does really play off that 80s cop thing, and I like how they call that out in this movie. But she really does play a very simple character, not too much depth or anything like that there. Not that you expect anything from like that, but in terms of how she plays as that 80s cop, then yeah, she plays that very well. Now we get into the meat of the characters here, aside from her, though. Cassandra Cain. Okay, not the Cassandra Cain you expect from the comics, right? This Cassandra Cain, I think she only throws a few punches here and there, but most of all running away, and they have to protect her, right? This is all about, she is kind of like the plot device to get these girls together in a way, and it is the sole thing that they're trying to protect, right? So I don't quite care for her. I really wish she was more of the Cassandra Cain you see in the comics, where she's like an assassin, stuff like that. It really didn't need to be her to be called Cassandra Cain. She could have literally just been some rando civilian that gets involved in this. But I can maybe see that later on, maybe she'll learn some fighting moves and actually becomes the Cassandra Cain we know from the comics, and eventually turns into Batgirl. But right now, kind of a disappointment, rather, and very and kind of forgettable as well. Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, one of my favorite actresses, doesn't do much in this movie. Okay, she actually is kind of an afterthought. Like, almost, I get her being Helena Bertinelli is very pivotal. It's something that is in the film, right? But I feel like she was just thrown in here. She doesn't have much to say, and I get maybe she's just trying to come off as someone who doesn't interact well with people. I could totally get that, but it's definitely not Mary Elizabeth Winstead's best role, I would say. Okay, for as her as an actress, right? I mean, she does well better, especially movies like 10 Cloverfield Lane, the Fargo series, and things like that. But and as her character, I just feel like she's thrown in there, and it just, I don't know, for me, doesn't really pay off too much. So that's one of the more disappointing parts about this movie, right? She is really not there too much, and not really a standout much at all. Black Canary, big standout actually. So this one is, Journey does very well as Black Canary. She's probably one of the more grounded characters in this film, and you could really kind of more attach to her than other characters aside from Harley Quinn, right? And she plays a great, very well by Journey, and she does do her power like once, and you actually see that in the teaser and trailer, but she does kick butt, she does kick ass, she's a strong character. She does have an arc here that I kind of like, and so she is probably one of the stronger characters, one of the ones you actually remember out of this movie the most, aside from Harley Quinn. Okay, so this movie is definitely Harley Quinn, and I'm going to save the best for last, because it really is a Harley Quinn film. It starts off just almost like the Harley Quinn animated series, where you kind of just have a play-by-play of how she became Harley Quinn, how she gets involved with the Joker, and they even have a lot, like maybe 3 or 4 references to Suicide Squad, and I'll get to that in a minute. But they do reference a little bit about, bomb on the neck and things like that, and going on a mission and stuff like that, and a few, a cameos that come out. Just really, if you'll miss it, she'll mention it real quick and then you'll miss it, but just enough for us DC fans to recognize what she's talking about, right? But she is definitely Harley Quinn. She acts the role, and she has a somewhat of an arc, sort of, and then it just comes back. But for the most part, I think this movie is really just her telling a story about her breakup, how in a way she kind of forms the birds of prey, and then now she's and then goes out on her own again, and it's like a week in the life of Harley Quinn, right? And she tells it in a way that's like a Quentin Tarantino film a little bit, where the time, especially like Pulp Fiction, where it's over here and it's over here and then it flips back here and then it goes back here, and then it's just like, wait a minute, before this happens, let me explain something about this, and that part, I think is much different from the other DC films, but much more like a Quentin Tarantino film. And that I could actually appreciate. And then it kind of goes into the motions of a linear fashion towards the end, right? But Harley Quinn is I want to say, and I'm trying to not reveal too much here, but I don't think there is nothing actual, you don't, you sort of feel the breakup thing, right? Because essentially her story is that she no longer needs Joker, right? She breaks up from Joker. She wants to be her own thing. And it's very much like the Harley Quinn animated series. Although I think the Harley Quinn animated series, it does a better job with that impact of getting out on her own and trying to make a name for herself. She kind of gets back to that. She goes off the beaten path with the Cassandra Cain. Then momentarily towards the end, then she gets right back to it again. To that part about being by herself, not needing Joker and things like that. But I think it doesn't play off that well. It is a fun ride, regardless. But I think they could have done a little bit better in getting that out, in getting that type of character arc out and presented a little bit better, right? But it's a lot about the action too. The action, for the most part, is pretty phenomenal. You can tell when Chad Stahelski is directing the action or actually doing the set, the reshoots for the action. And you can tell, at least I think so, when they're not using Chad Stahelski to do the fighting, right? So, like for the first most of the movie, you basically see most of it action done by Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn goes through a lot of that action pretty much on her own. And those scenes are great. There's a slow-mo, there's dynamic shots, there's wide shots where she's doing stunt after stunt, flipping people, using her weapon, a hit here, hit back and stuff. John Wick style. And I think that part was the absolute most entertaining for me, and I loved every minute of that part, right? But when it got time for the climactic battle, and you've seen some of that at the amusement park where all the birds of prey are fighting, something happened. And to be frank, that fight was sloppy compared to the fights from before with just Harley Quinn. I mean, it's supposed it doesn't, it just seems disconnected. The hits weren't connecting. There's one part where Huntress grabs a thug, and you see him and the camera's panning. She hits him, doesn't look like it connects. She turns away, he just gets back up and runs off. It just seems lousy and sloppy, and it didn't excite me at all. I was always kind of like, well, let's get back to a better thing. And it kind of does a little bit towards the end with a chase scene with Harley Quinn again. And then you can tell right, step over right, okay, there is Chad Stahelski's back. The John Wick fight is back. So you can kind of see that. And I wish, in a way, that he was more involved with that climactic battle, because I could potentially see. And if he was, then I'm sorry. For some reason, it was lackluster for the climactic battle. But the beginning of the movie, towards that part, the action was great. Probably the best action scene is with Harley Quinn at a police department, and that scene was the best. I would say the best fight in the movie. The best fight in the movie, probably even the best part of the movie. The colors, and the whole movie too. The colors really pop, and you can really see that neon type of glow to it, and I really dig the aesthetic of this movie. I really dig how the usage of color. I really dig the usage of fog and lighting was used very well in this film. So a great directing, cinematography for that matter, for this movie, and that part I could really appreciate. The pop music, the music, very reminiscent of Suicide Squad. If you like that, then you'll probably really dig this movie as well. Especially when we're talking about Suicide Squad, I think the one thing people keep wondering about is Joker. Is Jared Leto Joker in this movie? And I can honestly say you don't see Jared Leto as Joker. Okay, and they probably cut out all this. The most you'll see is like the back of his head right over here. Okay, that's as most you'll see of Jared Leto's Joker, and it's an actual scene took straight from David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So, and you see that actually in the Suicide Squad, right? So they are definitely connecting. This is a sequel to Suicide Squad, because she breaks up with him after however so long. She recognizes someone from the Suicide Squad. She even references the bomb in the neck and everything. So she does reference that this is indeed after Suicide Squad. So there is that. There is some connectivity there for you if you really want to see that connectivity between movies. So definitely sequel to Suicide Squad, and I think that I couldn't appreciate. I wish there was more Jared Leto Joker. You do see a little bit more Joker, but for the most part, you can't really tell it's him, right? You can't really tell this is the Joker that she's referring to, although I believe it still is. So it very much kind of like, I wouldn't want to say, it's very much almost like the Superman from Shazam, right? So there's some of that, but overall this movie is okay. For me, I think it's okay. I think the action set pieces for the most part are phenomenal. The characters like Black Canary, Harley Quinn, and Romance Sionis or Black Mask are the three standouts of this movie. In fact, if you wanting to see some great acting, great character acting, and things like that, those three are the definite standouts of this movie, especially this. But just to let you know, this is indeed a Harley Quinn film. This is a 90%, 80 to 90% Harley Quinn film, and Birds of Prey is kind of just it's in a way like an origin to Birds of Prey. So after this movie, I could definitely see her going off and forming Gotham City Sirens. And I could definitely see Birds of Prey having their own spin-off movie, or doing their own thing later on. I would love to see more interaction of that, getting more of the, how they act against each other. Um, I think Black Canary and Harley Quinn, great dual moments there. There's great team moments in terms of dialogue and character, and but they're also great partner moments as well. So I think overall you'll probably enjoy it. I think overall, as an action movie, it's very enjoyable. It's got that John Wick-esque fighting for the most part. The humor, I may have giggled here and twice, but I don't think I came in here to be laughing out loud. In any case, it's visually and incredibly visually. It's visually great. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's beautiful, and if you like that Tarantino-esque type of how the movie works, in terms of the plot, how it skips back and forth in order to tell a story narratively through a perspective of a crazy lady, then I think you would probably enjoy this. If you enjoy Harley Quinn's animated adventures, animated series, you'll probably enjoy this as well. Although as a library in comparison through the rest of the DCEU, it's probably not even in my top four, maybe even five, right? I can say it's probably better than Shazam, though. That's all I can say with that. It's probably better than Shazam. But yeah, it's got a lot of profanity. There is some blood, but arguably not as much blood and gory as you think a rated R should really go to. But lots of profanity, definitely. The violence is pretty up there, but nothing in comparison to like Deadpool violence. Not that it needs to be. I just thought I'd share that because everybody's wondering how rated R this movie is. But it's appropriate for a Harley Quinn story. And I thought they paid it off well in this little Gotham City segment portion of this story. But like I said, not to give too much spoilers away, that certain characters I want to see in the future. And so I'm hoping this is just her perspective of what happened, and maybe some of the stuff that happened in this didn't actually happen, right? So it gives away to future stories with some of these characters. So that's all I'll say. But anyway, go out and check it out for yourself. Don't just listen to me and think like maybe you'll wait or something. Do yourself a favor. Go out in theaters, check out Birds of Prey, and let me know how you feel about, how you think about it, because I want to see what everybody else's take is on this as well. All right. Well, that is it for tonight. I want to thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.